This is Bighorn Forest 2018 Facility Plan meeting with School Facilities Division of the State Construction Department, and we'll go ahead and introduce ourselves.
Good afternoon, Brandon, Planning and Finance.
Amber Leach, Planning.
Charlie Kaufman, Planning.
Paul Severson, Design and Construction Administrator.
John Rexus, Project Manager.
Troy Decker, Planning.
All right, District, go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Okay, Dave Kirby, Superintendent, and Broad Business Manager.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you for joining us today. Is Dave Tharp and Tony Hansen joining us?
No.
I will take them off really quick, and then we'll go ahead and proceed. So this is just a picture of your campus there in Basin. Troy added this in there just for visual effects for everybody. So this is the high school, the current high school right now, and then Laura Irwin Elementary School, which is up the hill from there. The new piece of property that they're looking to build the new schools on right now is located roughly in this area. So today we're going to go through these items. The things that you guys have checked and verified, we're just going to go on through. If you do have any questions during this little piece, let us know. But we're just going to continue. We'll just go in a good flow with the meeting. So for tracks and deeds, thank you for verifying this. No changes in that, or no acquisitions or dispositions planned for the year. Property profiles, you've reviewed those. And as far as I can tell, no changes at this point in those. Enhancements, you guys have reviewed the enhancements. And thank you for noting that for your new buildings, you can definitely complete the acknowledgement form here in the coming months, and we will take it in front of the commission. So really, we do have some time to do that. Not a big push on that at this point.
Did you just talk about enhancements?
Yes.
And we actually are waiting. Have you made any progress on your prioritization for alternates and enhancements on the projects yet?
Yeah, we have an itemized list. I think there ended up being like 5 or 6 enhancements that we identified. So would we just start the paperwork on that, and then does that get presented to the commission?
Yeah. Well, I think it ties into the contract amendment as well, not just for the commission, but I think Phipps is looking for a little direction so that they update their.
We got that last week. So they have all that information.
We're having issues with the audio on yours. All right, so actually what we may need to end up doing, did you guys get the call-in number? Okay.
Now what? Just tell us the call-in number. We'll dial it up.
Well, it should be in your email. We'll run it up real quick. Hold on. Here we go. Yes, it's 224-501-3412, and then your access code 635-408-645. And you have for the audio pin, just push pound. And then when you get on with that, just mute your computer so we don't have feedback. But we're having some kind of issues with the audio today, so we do apologize for that.
Hear us now?
You'll mute your computer audio. Okay.
Is that better?
Yes,
Yeah.
much better.
Thanks, Gary.
Sorry about that. It just sometimes it depends on, but the last few we've had to have them dialed in. So we've had issues on either on our bandwidth end or something, but thank you. We can hear you much better now.
So what I was saying was we have gotten all of our prioritized enhancement list. We have, SIPS has received all of that information. They're putting that into whatever paperwork they're filling out for the contract amendment, and then we'll start the paperwork, the enhancement. I think Amber sent me that application, so I'll start that paperwork.
Was Phipps gonna send that information to me so that we could process the amendment?
Yes, they will.
Okay. So now I'm just
Immediately.
waiting on them and the B11 as well, but
John, okay, so you haven't got the B11 yet? We thought that was on the governor's desk last Friday.
it might be.
Week.
That's that, right?
It could be there for weeks or months, it's up to the governor. We don't tell him what to do.
Right.
But no, we understand that. We have a local source here that communicated directly with the governor's office, and it was actually on his desk last Wednesday. So I don't know what the process is on receiving correspondence from him, but
It'd be nice
it was
to
on his desk.
everything filled out and ready to roll. So really, the main thing that's holding it up is the revised schedule, the revised scope of work, including the alternates that are within budget and the enhancements that the district's planning on doing.
Does Phipps have, we had heard that there was some, I don't know what the word would be, confusion, or they were unsure on what date to put as a start date. Should they just guess and put a number in there, or do you guys want them to put a certain date in there? What should they do there?
You're saying for their schedule?
Correct.
I think they ought to work that out with you.
All right.
Okay, we initially, we had heard from you guys that 4 to 5 weeks probably on the contract after our last meeting on February 7th, the commission meeting. And so we were kind of just going, okay, so 4 weeks off of that. So basically 4 or 5 weeks, March 7 to 14 in that neighborhood is when we would like to start, if that's okay with you guys.
Realistic.
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, as long
That's
as,
okay?
I mean, we should be good to go, but at least they can establish a baseline.
So if they just send you a schedule and we're starting off on say March 14th, the starting date, you'll be good with that?
Should be plenty of time.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
We'll plan on that.
Okay. Very good. Anything else in regards to enhancements?
I just put a note there, district has identified, we'll be submitting. Thank you. You're welcome.
I do forget that I'm also taking notes.
And we will request them to send you those enhancements today because we've given them last week. So I know that they have them. They can get those to you. We just didn't know if that's what you needed.
Is there any other specific items, John, that you're waiting on from Phipps? Other than just the schedule and the overall amendment paperwork?
But this time I'm not really sure. And I think that,
Payment performance bond.
Yeah, that doesn't come from the district though, that'll come from the CMR.
That's what he asked. You need anything from Phipps?
Oh, from this?
Yeah.
I mean, everything was pretty clear in the letter on what they needed to provide. So
Okay.
Okay, perfect.
I think as long as I get that stuff from them, then I can start processing that. I would like to see the list on the alternates and enhancements, so prior to them setting that in stone and sending it to me, because I'm not, based on a conversation that I had with Clint last week, I'm not sure that they're entirely aware what the funding options are at this point. So it didn't sound like he really had any idea what was going to be available for alternates and what wasn't.
You say,
Right. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if anybody knows that. Does anybody? We don't, certainly. That's kind of unknown, correct?
Yeah, I think it was all in the summary sheet that was presented to the commission, what was going to be left over after the 11. And that's kind of what we were looking for as far as a prioritization, was so that we could determine which alternates were feasible and know what's going to work to include, and then anything that
But we'll have them send you,
can be.
we'll have them send you the enhancement list as well as, because we also prioritize the alternates, not knowing what, if anything, would ever be available. But we do have it prioritized. So if and when the opportunity arises, we know, where to start.
Well, as long as
The alternates.
GH Phipps numbers don't change again, then I believe based on the summary sheet, there was about $105,000 to $110,000 excess available for alternates.
Right. At the high school, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll have them send you that list today. Or I'll send it to you.
Okay. Very good.
Charlie, go back up to your note, please.
Sure. What can I do?
Working with me, I don't know that we're working with me, we're waiting for the contractor in the district to
We changed that
provide
then.
it.
So, waiting for, okay.
And alternates and will provide to Barton.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So moving on real quick, we're going to go to the district appropriations update. Obviously, 10, 11, and 10, 12 are underway. So we'll revisit those in a couple of years when it's done. And then 10, 13, you said is canceled. So we'll go ahead and make sure that is taken out.
Okay.
All right. Okay, security. Turn this over to John.
I'm just going to do a brief rundown of where we're at with security funding and the projects. Back in 2014, the legislature appropriated $9 million for security-related projects. We did facility assessments in 2015 that identified 20 different elements and the deficiencies for each educational building within those elements. And based on that assessment, we determined that 8 of the elements could be addressed with the $9 million and brought up to a minimum standard. Once all the deficiencies were identified, we created those projects for each district with the appropriate dollar amount based on the assessment. There weren't any assessments completed in your district because we anticipated an earlier construction date of your new buildings as a replacement, but once we determined that there was going to be some delays to that, I believe we made some of the contingency funds available for you to address a couple of concerns that you had for the remaining time that your students were in those buildings. In the assessment, the deficiency costs that were identified were strictly the hard costs to remedy those situations. So the legislature made funds available through major maintenance in order to add to any shortfalls that you might have in regards to addressing those deficiencies. Projects or areas that typically qualify for regular major maintenance can use regular major maintenance to supplement, and systems that don't exist or that aren't typically covered by regular major maintenance can be addressed with the 10% security funds, which is just 10% of 1 year's major maintenance allocation to the district. We had asked for some additional money to move a little further down the list and incorporate some of the other elements, but because there's been such a slow rollout of expenditures with the existing appropriation, the legislature asked us to hold off until we got some more of those issues that were previously identified addressed. There are some districts out there that have been able to secure some grants from Homeland Security for security-related issues. Amber's included some of that contact information for you in this facility plan, and that's about as much as I know about that. But if you have some interest in that and don't already know more about it than what I've told you, I'd be happy to give you some contact information for other districts that have been able to secure some of those grants so that you can see what might be available and what the process is for you to go about that. We are having a follow-up to last October's security meeting presentation that we had in Casper, and it's going to be on March 13th over in Riverton, hosted by Fremont County School District 24. If you weren't at the meeting in October, I can tell you that it was extremely informational and very entertaining as well. The gentleman that speaks at those meetings is a great presenter and very knowledgeable. I do know that quite some time ago we got the authorization out for the deficiencies that you identified on the issues that were important to you on these buildings, but I haven't seen any billing come back yet. I believe that work's been completed for some time, so just as a reminder, if you can get that in, you can get yourself reimbursed for any expenditures you may have related to those two projects in AIM.
Okay. Yeah, I'll get with JJ and figure. I'm not familiar with where to go to get reimbursed on that in AIM, so I'll get with JJ.
Those would be real similar to a capital construction project. When you're putting in for reimbursement, basically the same as when you're doing your billing for MOA or Tom Ferens or GH Phipps. And I can get you those project numbers if you need them, Andy. They should.
Okay, yeah, I'll do you have them right there, or I can call you or something?
Yeah, give me a holler because I don't have them written down right now. But
okay.
But we can.
Yeah, I'll give you a call.
Project manager report and AIM and pull them up. I think it's about $32,000, roughly 33.
Yeah. Okay.
33, 138.
Thank you. So moving on, with the next topic we'll cover is capacity. And I did note that you had a question below why the capacities were so different. I do want to note right up front here, when we sized your new buildings, we sized them for our commission methodology. And these numbers, the 136 for Laura Elementary School and then the 169 for Riverside, will be the placeholder values until the building is finished, until the buildings are finished, excuse me, and have been measured by FEA. So these are the capacity numbers that are going to be for the interim, not off the.
Those are the capacities for the new buildings?
Yes, and so we're going to use those until your buildings are complete.
Makes sense. Okay.
And so these were actually the numbers that were, Ann brought up a good question. These numbers were brought from when we sized the buildings. So.
Okay.
And we'll probably be doing an assessment of the buildings as soon as they are complete. We'll probably send a team back in for measurements and most likely for a security assessment as well, I would imagine.
I'm sorry, say that again.
To reassess the buildings once they're complete.
Yes, so what we do is when the buildings are complete, FEA will go out and do a baseline assessment, and then we'll measure all the spaces in each building. And with that, we'll catalog each space. That way we can determine the capacity of the buildings at that point. And then they'll, I believe, a security assessment. I do believe I have to check on that one, but I believe so as well.
Okay.
All right. So let's look over your enrollment projections. As you know, we do this off the 10-year trailing data, and we do this every year when we get the enrollment October enrollment numbers. So I do want to note that we always say that the last, it's a bit formulaic, so whenever so the one thing about our enrollment projections is that they do take the last couple of years of trends and they project them forward. And so there's a little more weight to the most recent data, even though it is 10 years of figuring that. So that's why you get the curve down that you're getting. So in 2014, you peaked at 304 students, and since then, it's been a little bit of a downward trend. And so that's why you get the weird curve down, if you will. Have you guys done any kindergarten registration for next year, or what are your numbers looking like for next year?
Yeah, we have not done that yet, so.
We usually do it in March.
Yeah, it'd be, probably late March.
All right, and you know, it's always interesting. So when we look across, we look at a couple things. Generally, we look at your kindergarten classes. So you see, like in 2008, you had a big class there, and then 26 across the way. And then 2015, you had just a really low year, 9.
Right.
And then this year, down a little bit still. I mean, the last couple of years have been down a little bit. So.
Yeah.
So. But anyways, so. Very good. So moving on, the statewide list, this is more for your information than anything. Every year per our SFC policy 2013-20, we prioritize the high capacity needs throughout the state. And we categorize them in 3 areas: high priority, medium priority, and low priority. And anything above 100% is high, and anything between 95 and 100% is medium, and anything between 90 and 95% is low. So for example, we don't really look at too many of them until we get to about the 95% range. And we recently conducted a planning study in Albany County for their junior high school, and now we're just currently monitoring their enrollment. For the high school in Rock Springs, we're currently doing a planning study to see what we can do in the meantime for them, for their intermediate options, trying to help them out with their capacity issues. So more for your information.
Okay.
So coming next, one of the things that we get asked a lot during the year is what are the biggest drivers in the major maintenance calculator, and how does that figure into how much I get paid? So for this year, we wanted to give a demonstration for each district, really kind of what those are. So the main two drivers in your major maintenance calculation and payment are your average daily membership, your ADM, and then the allowable square footage that drives off it. And this is from last year's calculator. So anyways, basically what it's showing here is that, one, there's a bit of a gap between what you're getting funded for, the 93,000 square foot, versus what you have on the ground right now, the 134,603. And two, that there is a little bit of this, like a gap between what we're looking to pay school districts for major maintenance and what measures we're trying to take to close that gap. Brandon will talk a little bit later about measures that we've taken to try to close the gap in the funding for major maintenance here in a little bit. But more than anything, this is for demonstration. I do want to, in reading your notes, I had read that software program. What programs are you looking at right now for the major maintenance?
The main one I've looked at is School Dude. I haven't gotten too far down the road of seriously looking to implement it. I've heard rumblings that the state's looking to implement kind of an not automated, but kind of a systematized, somebody on the same, every district on the same platform type of deal. Is that accurate or not?
That was accurate. We did a study with FEA to do essentially just what you said. We took that to the select committee. That included changing the RS means number. So one of the variables that goes into your major maintenance formula is going to double that amount. The number is going to go up. The CRV, current replacement value, is going to go from 2 to 2.5. Implement the software. The state was going to pay for that. Eliminate the 7-year phase-in on new schools. That's about it. It would have doubled your payment. Everything died in the bill except for the elimination of the 7-year phase-in. That's the only thing that's still alive as of Friday night.
Okay. All right.
So to add to what Brandon said, we did look at several ways to be able to close the gap on major maintenance, make sure that districts got fully funded for that, but that did not survive at this point.
So it didn't survive because philosophically legislators aren't on board, or does it have to do with the economics, current financial situation?
I'd say there's a couple variables. There was no support for that from the district's perspective. Legislators are struggling with, do they replace schools at a certain age or do they maintain? And then also, asset preservation. And then also the current economic climate, they're trying to cut as much as possible as well, just to balance all the budgets.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brandon.
You're welcome.
So for going on, so no charter schools in your district nor alternative education programs. And so that brings us to condition. And we've had this illustration up the last couple of years with FEA's work, and basically just giving the lifespan of the buildings and how taking care of them and investing money into them helps preserve that lifespan. And then the front page of the FCI, or the condition list or index for 2016, and currently that we're in the budget, the .4s and above were in the budget to be looked at as commission directed and components. And that has changed a little bit with Laramie 1's stuff, but I'll leave that to Brandon here in a minute to talk about. So with your buildings being worked on to come online, we did not do any assessments in 2016 on the old education buildings.
Right.
Your new ones are in the ground. We'll do those baseline assessments then. But then we did do your auxiliary buildings. There's where the scores are at for your auxiliary buildings.
Okay.
All right, major maintenance. thank you for doing your 680. This is the 680 from June 30 last year. And so this was all the work that was done the previous fiscal year. And just, it gives us a breakdown, a snapshot in time of what was going on with your district over the last year before June 30 of last year. And a breakdown of where money was spent at, by category and then per building. Which gives us an idea where money was spent at.
Okay.
Okay,
We're kind of, if it's not a safety or security issue, we're kind of in a don't fix it until it breaks mode.
and with your new buildings coming online, I can understand that and appreciate that, especially in terms of, we definitely just make sure that student safety's in there, and we understand that with those coming on, you're trying to make sure you have money left over, so that way when you do get the new building, you're able to take care of my major maintenance items as well when that happens.
Yeah.
So, but just again, rundown of your low condition scores, and your ancillary buildings. Geez, wow. And then again, where you guys are at with your balances as of this year, and all things considering right now, we're looking at roughly about, if everything holds out, that'd be the anticipated payment right now for July 1. So thank you for working with Amber and getting these work orders cleaned up and getting these priorities out. It's good to see where you guys are headed for major maintenance on this. So the one question we have been asking each district is, how do you prioritize your major maintenance? I mean, I know right now you're in the safety and security. If it's not broken, don't fix it. But beyond that, how do you normally prioritize your major maintenance?
Basically, we get maintenance people and principals from the buildings together once a year and basically round table and come up with the needs that we have. And then basically, we're prioritizing it on obviously safety, security issues at the top. And then after that, it's basically condition issues. Is it basically whatever it is, has it become inoperable or, degraded to the point where it needs replacement, or can we go with it for another year or two? And we cover that with our maintenance people and principals.
Okay, I'm just taking the notes here real quick.
And then once we get into the new buildings, our district has not had a regular major maintenance routine or a program, and I'm a big believer in. That's why I like the idea of the software is put districts on a regular replacement program where you're actually setting money aside for the new roof, for the boiler, or whatever it may be, to where you're just not. I don't know. I just think if districts were a lot more organized and things were structured a bit more, then we wouldn't have so many emergencies, component issues arising. And I know some districts in the past have been accused of using their major maintenance up, and then you have your usual offenders on the component request list. Whereas you have other districts that are, trying to do their best with their major maintenance. And I think if things were a lot more structured and organized, we could be more efficient.
That's very well spoken, and it's very true that there's a lot of work that has to go into there for maintaining of these buildings, and you're right. There's quite a bit of organization that needs to go through that to be able to plan that out and be able to maintain it as you come along. And it is a huge blessing that you're able to go through and get those new buildings, and truly, preserving those after they're built is very, very much important in doing so. So, thank you for that.
You guys, is that something that you guys are pushing? Are districts opposed to getting on regular schedules like that and following a software program, or are they for it? What's the?
Well, actually, it's kind of a mixed bag out there. You have districts that are absolutely phenomenal out there that plan and planning their major maintenance out and being able to speak for every dollar of that and have it very well organized. And there are other districts that aren't quite as organized on that. Definitely is it's a mixed bag of results. Definitely for what we've seen out there. And
Yeah.
and you know, we've heard the accusations of those districts that aren't, and it's one of those things that you know, we always have to be mindful of what's out there and make sure that we
Right.
that we just basically what you get is a mixed bag, really truly what it is.
Yeah.
So
Hey,
Well,
Charlie.
like I said, if we're in the new buildings, we'll probably look for, you know, any input you guys can give us as far as getting on that type of a routine or a schedule, because I think that would be beneficial for us, so.
yeah, Troy, go ahead.
Yeah, I think the majority, in my opinion, and maybe Brandon can confirm, but in my opinion, the majority of districts were in favor of something like that. But there were a couple districts that came to the select committee when this was presented and just felt that it was an unfunded mandate. They basically didn't feel like they had the manpower to enter the data and then to manage, you know, the software system. And but in our perspective, actually within the proposal to the legislature included money to actually have the data entry done on the systems. And then on top of that, as we look through things are through the software program, it really is a very efficient program, or can be efficient programs, whoever gets the contract, where a lot of things are automated and you don't have to track them on spreadsheets or you know, writing things down, and you can actually enter data. It helps your maintenance team track stuff, and it also provides reports back to district administration to know how they compare on a national or regional basis and taking care of their facilities and stuff. So I think it takes a lot of quantitative data and makes it available, and then assists districts, I think, in a very efficient way to do that. So I think it was just a couple vocal districts that really turned the select committee's minds away from it, and then there were really not a lot of districts present that stood up and said, hey, hold on, this could be a value. So that's kind of where we lost in my opinion, that's where we lost the battle.
Huh, wow, that's interesting, because I don't know, I mean, every single legislator is talking budget. This, you guys know better than anybody, this is billions and billions of dollars over time. I mean, I don't know, that's interesting.
And you know, I wasn't at those meetings, unfortunately, and so I you know, thanks for filling me in on that, Troy. It's good to have that additional knowledge there, and good to be able to speak to that. Brandon, do you have anything else on that?
Troy's right. What he said is pretty much the process that happened. So.
So thank you guys for filling that in. So it's too bad on that part that, you know, there's a, you know, if in looking at trying to preserve your assets, you're absolutely right, Andy. You know, that's billions of dollars over time, and it's something that, you know, we have to decide what we're going to do as a state. So anyways, moving on real quick, you know, right now, even though you're not going to have any component projects, we just want to make sure that you know that if you were to consider anything in the future, we do always provide that training, and always are looking to do that. For this particular cycle, projects are to be required to be in by September 15th, and for this next biennium budget. And then for your information, projects 1 through 16 are currently still in the bill they're still currently in there
Right now.
As of right now. As of right now, they're still in there to be worked on and get funded, and we're hoping that those get through. Okay, 18 legislative review, Brandon.
All right, so let's see. House Bill 32, that's the one that we were talking about for the big overall major maintenance study and everything. It's slowly getting whittled away. Only thing left is a 7-year phase in. And there's also some language in there about how your payment would come. So your payment would come, you get 70% in July 1st, and then you get the remaining 30% in September. And the reason for that is so that we get the ADM that comes from WDE in September and have the most accurate data, so your payment is in full. House Bill 33 was just some statute cleanup on allowing the commission to use emergency funds on site if something really bad went south on a site. School could not be held. They could use money for that. 63 is just general contractors they're trying to get them to work harder to employ Wyoming labor and work with workforce services. House Bill 65 is the elimination of the $500,000 threshold for design build delivery project. House Bill 88, in the state construction department we now have a third division. It's called operations. All project managers, all finance people, planning staff will all be in there. So the intent is that the director can utilize resources and put the right guys on the right project as he sees fit. And also we can cross paths from each division and create efficiency. Senate Joint Resolution number 3 is putting the Constitution out to vote to see if people want to vote to amend it. I don't know if that one will get any legs or not. I doubt it. Capital construction. We've got everything so far in the bill that went from the commission to the governor to the select committee to joint appropriations was the same. There's only been one change thus far, and that is to remove the component projects out of Laramie 1, the commission directed, and put that towards a capital project that they would like for their middle school. And that's the budget so far on the construction side.
Okay, thank you, Brandon.
Then in the supplemental, if you could scroll down a little bit more, what they did in the budget, how it's currently written, is if you look at lines 15, we can come forward in the supplemental budget for emergency or unanticipated needs. So you guys do have a project that's in its life cycle. So if there's something that we would ask for, this would be the process here, and then it'd go through the whole commission, governor, select committee, JC, then off through the legislature. So with that, and I'm a bit on the peripheral edges, so bear with me. You guys did use the demo money to fully fund the project on the construction side, right? The demo appropriation.
Yeah.
So if you're not gonna, I don't know if you're gonna get rid of that to give it to the city or town or some nonprofit or whatever, but if you didn't get rid of it, then what we would do is come forward and ask for the demolition to complete that portion during the supplemental budget so that we can get it completely wrapped up.
So, do we?
Well, I don't know. I've been way too much on the purple edges. So what's your guys' plan? Are you going to sell it for $1 and save the state millions?
Well, that would be our priority if we can get somebody to take it. They just have to be able to show that they have the ability to demo it and do the asbestos abatement. But yeah, we'd love to sell it for $1. We do have 2 interested parties, and I guess we're gonna need to know a time frame when we're gonna press them on it, a drop dead date if they're gonna do it or not, and then we're gonna have to work on that. So
we need to know the answer.
So far, we've just been trying.
Let me think here. So July, by the end of May, we need an answer. Because in June, I'll draft all the documents. July, it goes to the commission. And August, it goes to the governor. So you have till May 15th.
Now, are you talking on our Manderson project, or we also need to know that on our Riverside High School project?
Every
Or
project,
partial demolition.
all of it, the whole
Every
thing.
project has to do with demolition?
Yeah, whatever you're gonna do or not do, I need to know by May 15th. That'll give me a couple weeks to drop the documents. June, we finalize it and it goes to the select committee and commission. And IBARS is all entered at the beginning of August.
So but we don't need to know that for the high school, do we? I mean, you're talking going to ask for more money?
Yeah, I mean, it is, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you guys cannibalize the demo funds to fund the construction?
Well, not for the high school, as far as I'm aware. I don't think we did. Did we? I think yeah, no, all the demo funds are there for the high school, although I don't know if we were short on abatement.
Okay, so,
And I don't know if they need to know by May of this year because demolition isn't scheduled until after June of 19, which means they could come back in the general or the biennial budget session.
and get the money in, so.
I mean, that's a strategic political timeline, so it's not really my place to say, but.
Well, I was just making sure we didn't miss the boat if we did need to on this one, so I want to make sure that
We're looking at it, Charlie.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
Everybody's aware.
Okay, no, I was just making sure for this and everything.
So for my purposes, what I'd like to do is we meet in the end of April, so I know in May, yes or no. And then if it's easy, hey, yeah, no, okay, cool.
Or maybe next year.
Or next year, yeah. It's either yes, no, or next year. So put district and Finney and John need to meet at the end of April.
But regardless of the year, you want to know by middle of May.
I do, because I don't want to have something get dropped and say we're sitting in front of a JC and they're like, oh, what about this project? And we're like, well, hell, I didn't know. I'd just rather be fully double check and verify before the budget leaves the dock.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, once it leaves the dock, it sucks to add things back in. It's not as efficient. People get confused. It's real nice to have it all buttoned up with a bow on top when it leaves from the first time off the dock.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, that's better for us. If we can say yes, no, or next year, because that would push us pretty hard to get our town and get figured out where we're at there. So
Yeah.
we're probably looking a year out. That's all right with you guys.
Yeah, we'll just double check, see where you're at. Plus, by then, everything will be under contract. You'll know, where things are sitting. Maybe you'll have some people that are interested. We'll be closer, have some more details. And then what I'm gonna do on the budget, I'm gonna put it for a placeholder.
All right. I just wanted to make sure we got that recorded for everybody's, for all intents and purposes. That way, if we did need to do that, we didn't miss the opportunity to do so for the district. And that way we've covered all of our bases for our ends. So thank you guys.
Budget sheet. What's today? 220.
All right. So that brings us to the last part of the facility plan, the last section, the unique issues, ideas, and concerns. And so this is the part of the facility plan that we can discuss anything that hasn't been discussed for this year's facility plan.
Can you go up real quick myself? I just want to capture demo funds for Manderson. Cloud Peak.
And you might want to say demo/abatement.
Yes. /MS.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Trey.
All right, district, do you have any unique issues, ideas, or concerns that you'd like to talk about at this time?
I don't.
I do not.
Staff?
I don't have any. Thanks, guys.
Don? No, I have nothing.
Troy, anything? I'm gonna take by the silence that probably not. So with that, we want to thank you for all the work that you did in getting ready for this, especially Amber and all the work that she does, and thank the district for their work getting ready for this. So with that, we wish you, we'll be working with you here closely over the next year, and have a good rest of your afternoon.
Yeah, Amber does a good job.
I'm glad you appreciate it.
All right, thank you guys.
Good job, Amber.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.